In Search of the Miraculous by P.D. Ouspensky. Chapter 2. On one occasion, at one of these meetings, someone asked about the possibility of reincarnation and whether it was possible to believe in cases of communication with the dead. Many things are possible, said she, but it is necessary to understand that man's being, both in life and after death, if it does exist after death, may be very different in quality. The man-machine, with whom everything depends upon external influences, with whom everything happens, who is now one, the next moment another, and the next moment a third, has no future of any kind. He is buried, and that is all. Dust returns to dust. This applies to him. In order to be able to speak of any kind of future life, there must be a certain crystallization, a certain fusion of man's inner qualities, a certain independence of external influences. If there is anything in a man able to resist external influences, then this very thing itself may also be able to resist the death of the physical body. But think for yourself what there is to withstand physical death in a man who faints or forgets everything when he cuts his finger. If there is anything in a man, it may survive. If there is nothing, then there is nothing to survive. But even if something survives, its future can be very varied. In certain cases of fuller crystallization, what people call reincarnation may be possible after death, and in other cases, what people call existence on the other side. In both cases, it is the continuation of life in the astral body, or with the help of the astral body. You know what the expression astral body means, but the system with which you are acquainted and which use this expression state that all men have an astral body. This is quite wrong. What may be called the astral body is obtained by means of fusion, that is, by means of terribly hard inner work and struggle. Man is not born with it, and only very few men acquire an astral body. If it is formed, it may continue to live after death in the physical body, and it may be born again in another physical body. This is reincarnation. If it is not reborn, then in the course of time, it also dies. It is not immortal, but it can live long after the death of the physical body. Fusion, inner unity, is obtained by means of friction, by the struggle between yes and no in a man. If a man lives without inner struggle, if everything happens in him without opposition, if he goes wherever he is drawn or wherever the wind blows, he will remain such as he is. But if a struggle begins in him, and particularly if there is a definite line in this struggle, then gradually permanent traits begin to form themselves. He begins to crystallize, but crystallization is possible on a right foundation, and it is possible on a wrong foundation. Friction, the struggle between yes and no, can easily take place on a wrong foundation. For instance, a fanatical belief in some idea or the fear of sin can evoke terrible, intense struggle between yes and no, and a man may crystallize on these foundations, but this would be wrong, incomplete crystallization. Such a man will not possess the possibility of further development. In order to make further development possible, he must be melted down again, and this can only be accomplished through terrible suffering. Crystallization is possible on any foundation. Take, for example, a brigand, a really good, genuine brigand. I knew of such brigands in the Caucasus. He will stand with a rifle behind a stone by the roadside for 8 hours without stirring. Could you do this? All the time, mind you, a struggle is going on in him. He is thirsty and hot, and flies are biting him, but he stands still. Another is a monk. He is afraid of the devil all night long. He beats his head on the floor and prays. Thus crystallization is achieved. In such ways, people can generate in themselves an enormous inner strength. They can endure torture. They can get what they want. This means that there is now in them something solid, something permanent. Such people can become immortal. But what is the good of it? A man of this kind becomes an immortal thing, although a certain amount of consciousness is sometimes preserved in him. But even this, it must be remembered, occurs very rarely. I recollect that the talks which followed that evening struck me by the very fact that many people heard something entirely different to what G had said. Others only paid attention to G's secondary and non-essential remarks and remembered only these. The fundamental principles in what G said escaped most of them. Only very few asked questions on the essential things. One of these questions has remained in my memory. In what way can one evoke the struggle between yes and no in oneself? Someone asked. Sacrifice is necessary, said G. If nothing is sacrificed, nothing is obtained. And it is necessary to sacrifice something precious at the moment, to sacrifice for a long time, and to sacrifice a great deal. But still, not forever. This must be understood because often it is not understood. Sacrifice is necessary only while the process of crystallization is going on. When crystallization is achieved, renunciations, privations, and sacrifices are no longer necessary. Then a man may have everything he wants. There are no longer any laws for him. He is a law unto himself. From amongst those who came to our lectures, a small group of people was gradually formed who did not miss a single opportunity of listening to G and who met together in his absence. This was the beginning of the first Petersburg group. During that time, I was a good deal with G and began to understand him better. One was struck by a great inner simplicity and naturalness in him, which made one completely forget that he was, for us, the representative of the world of the miraculous and the unknown. Furthermore, one felt very strongly in him the entire absence of any kind of affection or desire to produce an impression. And, together with this, one felt an absence of personal interest in anything he was doing, a complete indifference to ease and comfort, and a capacity for not sparing himself in work, whatever that work might be. Sometimes he liked to be in gay and lively company. He liked to arrange big dinners, buying a quantity of wine and food, of which, however, he often ate or drank practically nothing. Many people got the impression that he was a gourmand, a man fond of good living in general, and it seemed to us that he often wanted to create this impression, although all of us already saw that this was acting. Our feeling of this acting in G was exceptionally strong. Among ourselves, we often said we never saw him, and never would. In any other man, so much acting would have produced an impression of falsity. In him, acting produced an impression of strength, although, as I have already mentioned, not always. Sometimes there was too much of it. I was particularly attracted by his sense of humor and complete absence of any pretensions to sanctify or to the possession of miraculous powers, although we became convinced later he possessed then the knowledge and ability of creating unusual phenomena of a psychological nature. But he always laughed at people who expected miracles from him. He was an extraordinary, versatile man. He knew everything and could do everything. He once told me he brought back from his travels in the East a number of carpets, among which were many duplicates, and others having no particular value from an artistic point of view. During our visits, he had found that the price of carpets in Petersburg was higher than in Moscow, and every time he came he brought a bale of carpets, which he sold in Petersburg.